Andy Haldane there. Well, joining us now is the Managing Director of Iceland Supermarket, Richard Walker, a man who's dabbled a little bit in politics as well, which we can chat about a bit later too. Great to have you on the programme. Fall in inflation, will it be welcomed by your customers?
Well, as you pointed out, it's not a fall in inflation. It's nothing's gone down. It's just that they're not rising as fast as they were. And of course, that is welcomed by my customers because we're not in this endlessly increasing upward inflationary cycle. And whenever we get cost price reduction from our supply base, we pass it on as soon as we can. So, for example, the amount of our £1 lines, which are really important to our core customer, we're doubling those to 1,000 in January, and we're able to do that because we're starting to see lower prices from suppliers. So we do everything we can, but our customers aren't celebrating, and they are still in a cost of living crisis. So a decline in the rate of interest is not a reversal in the cost of living crisis for my customers, which is why it's a little bit unedifying to see Rishi celebrating that he has single-handedly halved inflation, when of course we know that it's nothing to do with him. It's the Bank of England and global economic factors.
It's interesting to hear your assessment of the politicians' reaction. Do you think it's become a bit of a political football then?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think there's 11 days to go for his 5 targets. So he'll meet one of them, which is this, to halve inflation. But it was always disingenuous because, as I say, it's nothing to do with him. And I saw on Instagram the other day that the Tories have put out a post saying Rishi has halved inflation, which, they've got to have a pretty low opinion of the intelligence of their audience if they think people will believe that. It's global economic factors, but it hasn't been helped domestically by Trussonomics and some of the policies there, which of course led to higher interest rates and higher mortgages for people. So that kind of work by the Conservatives is slowly unravelling, but thanks to the Bank of England.
You were speaking about how things are still very difficult for a lot of your customers, and I just wondered if we could talk a bit more about that as well. I did an interview with you a little while ago, right at the centre of the cost of living crisis, when you were talking about how, very frankly and candidly, that your main rival is food banks, that you see people putting things on the checkout and then having to stop and putting stuff back on the shelves once they hit their £40 limit. What kind of behaviour are you seeing in your stores?
It's interesting. It's still very difficult because prices are higher than they've ever been. But I almost think the cost of living narrative has become sort of normalized a bit because we've been talking about it for so long. But we mustn't underestimate the reality for many of my customers and many people out there around the UK. It is really, really tough. So yeah, we're still hearing stories of people really managing their budgets, or indeed having to turn to food banks, which, by the way, is no one, least of all those people, would want. So we need to do everything we can as a business to try and help them, and as a country, which is why I talked about these £1 lines. But you may have heard we're now offering micro loans to people so that they can afford to buy food in our shops. They're interest free, so we pay the interest. But those gaps in income throughout the year mean that it really is still very difficult at certain times. We also offer a 10% discount to anyone over the age of 60 in store every Tuesday. Tens of millions of people have now taken advantage of that, which shows you just how gratefully it's received. And it just feels to me that everyone is struggling. Pensioner poverty is a reality. Young families struggling to manage their family budgets is a reality. Students are struggling. Everyone's struggling. So let's hope that this trend continues, that rates continue to come down, and that we start to see a reversal in food prices, especially in the new year. That's certainly what we're planning.
I want to talk to you a little bit about interest rates as well. We heard Andy Haldane talking just before speaking to you. Some people are arguing that, look, the Bank of England was a bit slow to raise rates, but now they're being a bit slow to cut them. From a business perspective, how worried are you about growth and the possibility of a recession even?
I think a recession, when you're really bumping along at zero growth, is always a concern. And I suppose if you look over the long term, a lack of productivity and a stagnating economy, a lack of growth is really our kind of biggest challenges domestically. So it is an issue. We've managed to grow market share and we've kind of done the right things for our customers, but generally UK PLC, and its attractiveness to overseas investors, but also to keep growing our domestic economy so that everyone can, have a better quality of life and improve. That is undoubtedly still a challenge. We've got to get growth back. And actually, it's encouraging to see both sides of the political divide recognise that as the big challenge.
Let's talk politics, shall we? Because
shall we?
Would try. I'm sorry, we've got to do it. It's a political show. I'm going to force you because I'm quite intrigued. You were trying to be a Conservative Party candidate. Now you're not. What happened?
Well, they didn't want me. I got on the approved list of candidates. But they put a deferment next to my name, which means that I wasn't allowed to run in any seat, including my home seat where I've lived all my life. And it was very strange. No one would ever give me the reason why. I was told it was because I was chairman of Surfers Against Sewage, and I don't know. You're a bad Tory if you don't want excrement in the sea. I was also told off by very senior figures in the party about my outspoken views on food banks. As you said, we've talked about that before. It's a reality. I'm seeing it up and down the country, and I refuse to change my values and principles to suit a party that I think has itself lost its way. So I'm quite enjoying my newfound freedom to speak out on issues that really matter to me and really matter to our customers. At the end of the day, I think my take on it was that the Conservative Party don't want people with genuine views, experience, or opinions of their own.
Who would you vote for if there was an election tomorrow then?
That's a good question. Well, there's no manifestos yet, so I don't know. But
that's a politician's answer.
I wait to be convinced, and we'll see. Hopefully, someone else can step up into this gaping void. Is the country in a better place than it was 13 years ago? Of course it's not. And we have major issues. We've talked about economic issues, but what about our social inequality, regional inequality, and of course, environmental problems that we're facing? We desperately need a party to step up into this chasm and run Britain and hopefully get us back on our feet.